All right. Hi, Michon, and hello to anyone who might be jumping on to view this introduction video of Michon and myself. My name is Dr. Danielle Lord, and I am the co-founder of Compass, along with my first friend, Michon, and second co-founder of Compass. So we thought we'd take just a few minutes to introduce ourselves, tell you a little bit about who we are and our purpose for bringing Compass to life and why it's important for us and why we think it's important for you and how it is that we want to participate with you and help any caregiver or clinician who might be experiencing trauma. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michon, and she's going to give you a little introduction about herself. So please,
Great.
Michon.
Thank you. Yeah, Danielle, I'm so grateful that we have met. It's been a year into our friendship and several months into this collaboration of Compass. For those that are joining us, and hopefully you've come to this place because there is an inquiry that you have in your heart and in your mind space of what it is that you're needing or seeking for healing. So the who we are is I am Michon Gareamni. I am running a business that came about and into fruition because of personal trauma of my own. And many people can relate to that, some of it quite significant. I have a history related to some assault and family strife and marital discord. And some of this we could easily say was kind of typical in our modern world where it's just not an easy life, right? But the who we are and who I am is a survivor, a fighter, someone who's come forth and says, I'm not going to let those things withhold the energy and the life I want to create, right? So, coming forward, starting a business in trauma recovery and bringing my expertise, both I have an educational background in psychology and certifications and training in integrative somatic trauma therapy. So bringing those forward, collaborating with Danielle, and here we are together bringing forth Compass. So Danielle, tell us a little bit about who you are.
So thank you, Michon. And yeah, hard to believe it's been a year and we've had so many amazing conversations, and hopefully we can bring some of those
Yes.
amazing conversations to our Compass participants. So with that, my background is in leadership theory, leadership development, organizational learning. And of my 32-year career, 25 of those have been spent in healthcare. And so I have seen firsthand what happens to providers, clinicians, and caregivers who experience trauma on a daily basis. And it's can be a life-changing, certainly career-changing, career-ending situation for caregivers and clinicians who experience either an event that is so traumatic that it is life-altering, or the compassion fatigue that comes because it's just ongoing and you can never emotionally regenerate healing for yourself when you're experiencing it on a day-to-day basis. And I was thinking about this last night based on an interview and conversation that Michon and I had not too long ago with another trauma surgeon. And that was an interesting conversation. And we'll be sure and put that podcast up on the site as well so folks can listen into that. But we get this, or there's this expectation that's out there in the world, the ether, whatever you want to call it, that nurses and physicians and anyone who enters healthcare should just be expected to live through these traumatic experiences. And while I think there's a yes in that, I think there's also an and or a but. And that and or but is that we are still humans. And we can only compartmentalize things,
Yeah.
events, circumstances for so long before we put a wall up. And that wall is exactly what we're seeing in healthcare when it relates to burnout and compassion fatigue, and even, as Dr. Jenny Byrne would say, moral injury. So with that, Michon and I came together.
Yeah.
I've wanted to do this for many, many years, and I'm working in a large health system. I was told, oh, no, that's a little too scary for us to head down this path of providing a place where caregivers and clinicians could come and have healing through conversation, through empathy, through non-traditional tools. And so I think what's really important for Michon and I as we embrace and bring or embark, maybe is a better word, on this journey and bring these things, these healing modalities to caregivers and clinicians, is that these are all non-traditional. So in the traditional
Yeah.
sense of healthcare, it's we'll go and spend some time with a counselor. And well, you need to spend more time with a counselor, and you spend all this time talking about it, that there's never really a way to get to the root cause of the pain. Secondarily to that, the other alternative or option is to get another script of benzodiazepines or antidepressants or whatever, SSRIs, serotonin reuptake inhibitors. And all of that does, again, is just mask that trauma. And we continue to kind of just fester in this pool of negativity and self-loathing and frustration. And we never actually heal at the root core. So that's kind of my why. And so there we go. That's why
Right.
I'm
And
doing this.
yeah, and the Compass program is designed for those caregivers that are ready to step into a healing realm. It's not about foregoing your career. It's about empowering you with new tools so you can manage the career choice that you've had. So many of our caretakers are in a state of distress, and COVID really maximized that. And
Mm-hmm.
people are now on the other side of that, but it's not on the other side because they've had care. They're just on the other side of it, still living with the effects of that great distress. And people were already in distress.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And then it was even pushed a little further. This message is really to bring about a collective sense of an identity in this healthcare industry, that we are experiencing this. Let's not put it under the rug any longer. Let's bring it forward, but in a compassionate way, which is what Compass is really about. The word compass sits in compassion. So, a compassionate space between Danielle and I to bring about these structured modalities. We have a team that we've put together of coaches that we have, uh, what's the right word? We have
Personally
brought
vetted.
them, yeah, we have vetted. Thank you. We have vetted and we have selected them because we are really, um, they offer a really enlightened position in trauma care and a new position for trauma care. So we put this together for you as healthcare professionals, and let's now shift, if you're okay, to how we deliver our message and material. Danielle, would you like to share about that?
So we will be bringing weekly, did we say weekly, monthly, as often as we can, messages, either between conversations between Michon and myself, or conversations with some of our great cadre of coaches out there about the work that they do and how they can help folks heal emotionally through those different modalities. So and this is a very unscripted conversation that Michon and I are
Yeah,
having today. So bear
yeah,
with our mutterings and musings here. So we appreciate that. But yeah, just different conversations that we're going to have. The whole idea is that you then can find a coach that connects with you at the heart or mind, or maybe both. And you can reach out through our website portal and connect directly with those particular coaches and find one that really is going to work for you. So we have a physician coach. We have a burnout coach specifically for nurses. We have someone who can help with smoking cessation, someone who can help with eating practices, because those are all things that we experience and become kind of a masking mechanism or a coping mechanism, if you will, once we've experienced trauma. Michon, for example, is a great resource as well and makes herself available for coaching, as well as some of our other coaches. In
yes,
addition to
yeah,
that, we have a large toolkit that we're building out right now. So it could be self-directed learning module. It could be a deck of somatic cards that you can use as kind of a on-the-spot moment, and just creating connections for folks and through tools and resources to help you
yeah.
in the moment when you may be experiencing some distress and need a tool. So that's a little bit
Right.
about our approach. What would you add to that, Michon?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Danielle. The the variety is really what I want to stress here, is that we are really trying to cover a variety of options of healing modalities that serve a wide variety of care and concern. And trauma shows up in so many different ways that we are really on our end, we're trying to really bring up vetted, encouraging resources. I myself included, along with others, and to deliver a community. This isn't just a portal where it's where there's no face involved. And not a connection. And that's also another important piece of what Compass is trying to aim, is to reestablish connection. And so we're trying to connect the healthcare community with these vetted professionals. And if the connection is strong, then they can pursue a one-to-one and work with that coach more individually. But you're right, we do offer a material and a collective body of material that we will have and present out to the community. So hopefully that's just adding a little bit more clarity on what we do and the heart behind it. And there really is a heart behind it. Danielle and I have had many conversations about the struggles we see. Just you have to go far to notice the disconnection in our community and the language that our community embraces. Danielle has spoke on that many times in other materials that we will post to our channel. So just take note. If you're here, we want you to know you've come to a compassionate space. We're glad that you're here, and we intend to deliver a superior community for you. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you talked about so many really important points, Michon, but I think the one that is most important is carrying this conversation forward is that there's still a lot of stigma around this topic in healthcare.
Yeah.
And healthcare professionals. And so we wanted to provide a space where you could come and not feel like you had to give up confidential information that may be leaked somewhere. Sometimes it's difficult to tell your colleagues that you're standing next to you that I'm really struggling today. So again, this place is a space for you to come and say, I don't know who to reach out to. I don't have anyone that I know that I can connect with. My husband doesn't want to hear about it. My kids are grossed out by it. So how do I come to a space where I know that it's going to be safe for me to get the information that I need without having to divulge confidentiality or vulnerability, I think is probably the word that I'm looking for, to a colleague.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate you speaking to the vulnerability part of this. And part of that vulnerability is the honesty that we do need something. We do need something. And maybe a lot of us sometimes are unsure of what is it that I need. And so, and also, if I don't even know what I need, where do I go? So hopefully in this forum, we're able to provide an answer to both of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit before we sign off on our intro video here. Just what is Compass? It is it is an acronym that stands for Coaching or Mentoring for Providers Affected by Stress and Strain. And those providers can be caregivers or clinicians. We define clinicians as someone in kind of that professional space who maybe has a license or a certification. So perhaps even physicians experience trauma. There's a ton of burnout within physicians right now. So how can we help alleviate that, as well as there's alcohol abuse and there's drug abuse and there's even really high suicide rates amongst physicians. There's a huge body of work that's been done around nursing burnout. So you might be a nurse who's experiencing this. You're ongoing, repeated hospice visits and watching your patients expire over time can become very exhausting. But there's also this whole body of other folks who work in this space non-clinically, if you will, or without some kind of license or certification. And those might be caregivers in assisted living, skilled nursing, adult family homes. Even though you are licensed and certified, you don't necessarily have any outreach either. And I know from being in that space for a number of years, I saw a lot of caregivers who had career-ending events happen through physical struggles, physical abuse from patients. I've got lots of stories around those, and even scribes. And I think this is a really important point to talk about scribes.
Yeah.
So what's happening right now for anyone who wants to apply for an interview to medical school, they have to, or they are strongly encouraged to be scribes. And those scribes go into any areas of healthcare, particularly in emergency rooms and emergency settings, and they take notes, chart notes. And so we have really young, vulnerable adults who are going into these situations without any knowledge, understanding, expectation of what it is that they might see repeatedly, and think specifically about an inner city emergency room and what might be occurring in there. And so we have these young kids, and I call them kids, but we have these young adults who are wanting to get into medical school. And well, it's a whole different conversation, but I think this is a weed out tool for the medical schools to say you don't have what it takes, which entirely different conversation. But we're seeing a lot of trauma with that particular group, and the scribing agencies, or neither the scribing agencies or the hospitals are providing them with any resources at all. So if you know someone who is a scribe and struggling through this, but then we can't forget family members who may suddenly have found themselves as a caregiver of mom or dad or husband or wife or brother or sister, and they're experiencing the trauma that comes related to dementia care, or related to just having to physically dress wounds, or anything else that comes with being a family caregiver. So this is base for everyone. Even EMTs, paramedics, anyone out there who is a first responder as well. So
first responders, yes. And you know, the word that we're using here is trauma care and compassionate trauma care. And trauma is defined very personally to people, but making use of my definition is that it moves an event or circumstance that moves us into a state of overwhelm. And everybody's threshold is incredibly unique and different.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
event for myself is not going to be an event for you. So even in our discussions going forward, we're going to have some discussions on that particular piece and how to be offering yourself a self-compassionate space to embrace that is my trauma, even when other people give me, you know, side eye, like, what's wrong with you? It's an event that you're experiencing that leads to overwhelm. So therefore, it is truly a real event for you. And we give that a compassionate space here because everybody's level and threshold is so unique.
I am so glad you brought that up. And we have, as one of our taglines for Compass, is don't let somebody else's trauma define your own. And I think that that's really important, because I think we do see it as, oh, what I experienced can't be considered trauma. So don't put yourself in that box.
And so some of us may even downplay because of outside influences or the way other people speak about it. It may be downplayed for us, but that has kept some of it into the shadows. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to cast some light here on the realities of what's really taking place in the lives of people, specifically the medical care and first responder side of life. But those individuals do go home to families and have families, and those things share within families. And so there's a big need here for us to collectively end the stigma on trauma and trauma care, and really the kinds of things that are impacted because of it, and to no longer ignore it, but call it out and bring it to light, and to celebrate the fact that we actually can create a community of support. That is something to celebrate. So I'm glad that Danielle and I are on this journey. It's a beautiful journey to be involved in, and it's actually it's healing for us in some regards, because we are constantly reminded of our own state of compassionate, that we have the compassion to offer ourselves, but the reminder that everyone is in a unique space. So let us be kind. Yeah.
I love that.
So thank you. Thank you for this time to join us and to meet us. Danielle and I are going to be producing more of these types of videos into the future. They will be uploaded here to this channel. And we ask that you subscribe to our channel and participate in future messages. And if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Also, too, we are going to be introducing you to additional coaches going forward. So feel free to check out their websites and their channels if they have something as along those lines as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone. And we hope to
Thank
hear from
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. All
Sounds good.
right.